The firstborn son of Jacob, Reuben, had it all: the birthright, the blessing, and the privilege. But one fateful decision changed everything. Join me as we explore the tragic tale of Reuben's fall from grace and the lessons we can learn from his story. From pride and passion to loss and redemption, Reuben's journey is a powerful reminder that our choices have consequences. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Reuben's story, and let's discover the timeless truths of the Bible together. Reuben, the firstborn son of Jacob and Leah, is a significant biblical figure whose narrative is woven through the book of Genesis. As the eldest, Reuben was initially entitled to certain privileges, including the birthright, which bestowed upon him a double portion of inheritance and leadership within his family. However, his actions led to severe consequences affecting his status and his descendants. The Bible has many genealogies, long lists of offspring with names that are often hard to pronounce. While these genealogies may make readers pray for perseverance, they serve essential purposes. For example, they detail all the people God used in Jesus' ancestry. One of Genesis's genealogies lists the sons of Jacob, whom God renamed Israel. God told Jacob, "Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed." The Bible later shows how Jacob's son Reuben played a crucial role in that plan, fathering one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Reuben's life included moments of commendable behavior, notably when he intervened to save his brother Joseph from being killed by their other brothers. Instead of allowing Joseph to be murdered, Reuben suggested they leave him in a pit, planning to rescue him later. Unfortunately, his brothers sold Joseph into slavery before he could act. Despite these positive actions, Reuben's grave mistake was his illicit relationship with Bilhah, his father's concubine. This act was seen as an egregious breach of familial trust and loyalty. Upon his deathbed, Jacob explicitly revoked Reuben's birthright because of this deed, citing Reuben's instability and the dishonor he brought to his family. The consequences of Reuben's actions extended beyond personal punishment to affect his entire tribe. The tribe of Reuben never rose to a prominent position in Israel. It produced no judges, prophets, or rulers of notable renown, which can be seen as a fulfillment of Jacob's prophecies about Reuben's descendants being as unstable as water and not excelling. This narrative is a cautionary tale about the importance of moral integrity and the far-reaching effects of our actions. Reuben's story also underscores the significant responsibilities and expectations placed upon the firstborn in biblical times, where the family's spiritual and temporal leadership were at stake. We first meet Reuben in Genesis 29 verse 32, which explains he was Jacob's firstborn son. His mother was Leah, the daughter of Jacob's uncle Laban. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." The story of Jacob marrying Leah has great irony. Jacob was staying in Haran with Laban because his brother Esau wanted him dead. Jacob had tricked Esau into giving up his birthright and later tricked their father Isaac into giving him a blessing reserved for Esau. Jacob's mother, Rebekah, sent him to Laban under the pretext of him finding a wife, and Isaac blessed Jacob before he left. Esau had angered his parents by marrying 2 Canaanite women, so the trip made sense. While in Haran, Jacob fell in love with Rachel, Laban's second-born daughter. He promised Laban his service for 7 years if he could marry Rachel. But Laban conspired to foist his firstborn, Leah, on Jacob. After 7 years, Laban gave a great feast, and Jacob was merry. Laban placed Leah in the marriage tent. Jacob went in and did not know it was Leah until the morning. As Jacob had tricked Esau, so Laban tricked Jacob. Despite being angry at being tricked, Jacob couldn't send Leah away. Over time, Leah bore 6 sons and 1 daughter to Jacob. Reuben was their first son, but he would have lots of competition. Jacob worked 7 more years and then married Rachel, who bore 2 sons. Jacob also had several sons by other women, so Reuben had 11 brothers. Joseph, Rachel's oldest son, is the most famous of Jacob's 12 sons. Joseph was his father Jacob's favorite, and his brothers disliked his position. Reuben must have found this particularly awkward since he was the firstborn, who traditionally gained the birthright, a promise to inherit the father's possessions and authority. Jacob's favoring Joseph, including giving him a coat of many colors, suggested that Joseph might get everything promised to Reuben. In Genesis 37 verse 2, we learn that Joseph brought a bad report of his brothers to their father. After Joseph shared 2 dreams with his brothers and his father, the brothers' disdain for him grew. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers as they shepherded flocks near Dothan. When the brothers saw Joseph from a distance, they plotted his death. "Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams." Reuben served as Joseph's savior that day. Apparently, he was not within earshot of the other brothers as they conspired against Joseph. But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, "Let us not take his life." Reuben suggested they throw him into a pit and leave him there, but he desired to restore Joseph to his father. When Joseph arrived, the brothers stripped him of his multicolored robe and threw him into a dry pit. Upon the arrival of a band of Ishmaelites, Judah suggested they sell Joseph to them. And so, they did, for 20 shekels of silver. When Reuben returned and saw Joseph gone from the pit, he tore his clothes and returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone, and where shall I go?" Taking his robe, they tore it up, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood to give the impression a wild animal killed Joseph. Meanwhile, in Egypt, a nobleman named Potiphar bought Joseph. Years later, when famine struck Egypt and surrounding countries, Joseph was in a position to help people. God's favor had him second in charge under Pharaoh. Knowing famine was coming, he collected enough grain to see the people through the scarcity. When Jacob heard about Egypt's great storehouses, he sent his sons, minus Rachel's second son, Benjamin, to buy grain. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. He treated them roughly, claiming they were spies, and said, "You shall not go from this place unless your youngest brother comes here." Imprisoned for 3 days, the brothers reflected that God must be punishing them for harming Joseph years ago. They said to one another, "In truth, we are guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he begged us and we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us." And Reuben answered them, "Did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you did not listen. So now there comes a reckoning for his blood." Genesis 42, verses 21 to 22. All the while, Joseph overheard their conversation. He did not return to his command to bring the youngest brother they mentioned to Egypt. He kept one of them, Simeon, in Egypt and returned the others to Jacob. The sons returned to Jacob and explained they could not buy more grain or get Simeon back unless Benjamin returned with them. Jacob initially refused. Reuben tried to convince him, saying, "Kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you." Later, his brother Judah persuaded Jacob, and they took Benjamin on their second trip to Egypt. The rest of the story, including Joseph finally revealing himself and reconciling with his brothers, becomes more about Judah, Benjamin's protector, and Benjamin. You can read the full narrative in Genesis 42 to 43. Before Joseph got sold into slavery, Reuben did something that would have huge consequences. While the family lived near Bethlehem, since they shepherded flocks, they moved around a lot seeing new pastures. Reuben did the unthinkable. While Israel lived in that land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard of it. Sleeping with one of Jacob's concubines was terrible for many reasons. It was an act of adultery, something the Bible condemns in Exodus 20 verse 14 and many other places. It was dishonorable to Jacob. Bilhah wasn't Reuben's mother or one of Jacob's legitimate wives, but she was a wife to Reuben's father in all but name. She was also the mother of 2 of Reuben's brothers, Dan and Naphtali. It was a sin that crossed clear moral boundaries and disgraced multiple people. After reconciling with Joseph, Reuben and his siblings moved to Egypt. Genesis 46 verses 8 to 9 indicates Reuben had 4 sons, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi, by this time. These sons would presumably inherit whatever Reuben left and be affected by whatever blessing their grandfather Jacob, the overall family patriarch, would give at the end of his life. At the time of his impending death, Jacob called his sons to pronounce a blessing on each. His blessing would also include prophecy, what shall happen to you in days to come. Because Reuben held the firstborn position, Jacob addressed him first. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the first fruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Reuben probably felt proud as his father called him preeminent in dignity and power. It was as it should be, the oldest son having great authority. However, Jacob lowers the boom on Reuben and tells him instead that he is as unstable as water and won't hold preeminence, not according to God's standards. He wouldn't be preeminent because while Reuben did some good things, like saving Joseph, he violated his father's bed. He may have had character, but not consistent character. Reuben's sons had children of their own, and these descendants eventually became the tribe of Reuben. While the tribe of Reuben would be blessed by being part of the nation of Israel, Jacob's words held true. Reuben's descendants did not produce a person of renown. No king, judge, or prophet came from his line.